Well, what is going on, everybody? Welcome into the unofficial start of the Overreaction Sports Podcast, doing live broadcasts for your drive to work on Monday mornings. This is Joe Miller, the host of the Voice, or I should say the host of the Overreaction Sports Podcast. You can find me, as you can see right here on Twitter, at Joe Miller Wired. And this is what I need you to do. The first thing I need you to do is I need you to go to YouTube. Look at. I need you to go to, if you're on YouTube right now, I need you to do two things. I need you to go to YouTube. I need you to like. I need you to click that thumbs up button, first of all. So click that thumbs up button. We got like 111 people in here already. And then I need you to do this word. I need you to subscribe, because there's a whole lot of features inside of YouTube and this whole platform that we cannot use until our subscription numbers get up. So do me a favor right now, whatever platform you're on, like it. So Facebook, Twitter, wherever, like it, share it. But specifically, if you are on YouTube, do me a favor, go ahead and subscribe, like and subscribe. Just do it. Just do them both. Do them for me. Do them for me, because just frankly, you love me, right? You love the voice. The butter's in the room. The butter. Listen to the butter. The butter is telling you to subscribe. The butter is telling you to subscribe. Ladies and gentlemen, you are tuned in to the live Overreaction, unofficial, as I said, unofficial start of the live recording of the Overreaction Sports Podcast on the Buffalo Rumblings Podcast Network. It's so good to have you guys with me. I'm your host, Joe Miller. You can find me on Twitter at Joe Miller Wired, and we got a whole bunch of people up in here. So Richard Rush is in the room. Robbie's in the room. Rich, I've missed you too. Who else we got? We got the boss man, Anthony Marino, up in the room. Hey, Brooke, what's going on? Bruce Nolan is in the room. Thank you. I did that myself, so I've got some work to do. I've already made some changes. So the voice, where it says right here, well, I don't know where it's at. There. The next week it'll be in pink, because I'm Bobby did my graphic. So Bobby from Fanatics actually did this graphic below me, and the reality is I'm just going to embrace the pink. I'm just going to go with it, and I'm going to embrace it. Liam is up in the room. Apex is up in the room. We got a whole bunch of people up in the room. So welcome, everybody. Pam is in the room. Welcome, Pam. Bill's Guys and One are in the room. It's so good to see all of you guys with me. So I'm off a break. I'm officially, last week was my first week back. New network. If you do not know how to find my podcast, you can now find my podcast on the Buffalo Rumblings Podcast Network. Currently, my RSS feed is no longer being used, the Overreaction Sports RSS feed. So if you want to find the Overreaction podcast, you have to go to Buffalo Rumblings on whatever podcast platform you listen to your podcast on. And from there, what you need to do is you need to like and subscribe. And then my podcast, as always, drops on Mondays. I think right now they're dropping about 12 o'clock in the afternoon. So I won't catch you for the drive to work on Monday yet. But you'll at least get me for the drive to work on Tuesday, right alongside my guy, Jay Spence, if you can wait that long. But yes, I am back. It's good to be back. I've got a new backdrop. I've got a new platform. I've got some new graphics. It's you are not the only girl in the room, Pam, just so you know. And I don't like how big that is. Where's that at? The bubbles default. I think I'm going to go with the default stuff. Hang on a second. Let me see what that looks like. That's better. You are not the only girl in the room, Pam. Brooke is up in the house too. Stevie Campione is up in the house. But it's good. It's good to have you guys with me. I appreciate you guys joining me. I appreciate you guys being on. We got a lot of work to do, fam. We got a lot of work to do. It's the off season for the Buffalo Bills. It's the off season, sort of, for Buffalo Rumblings. We got a lot of work to do right here. We are going to invade this market, this video, YouTube, like live content market like nobody has ever seen. And what we need you to do is, just like I said a second ago, like and subscribe. So get on that. This is what I want to Anyway, Anthony Romeo, what's up, Anthony? It's good to see you. Yeah, it's good. The real Chris Janke is in the house. I got a new camera. I got a little bit of latency. I got a new backdrop, as I said. I got some stuff going on, but Robbie's trying to get my attention. Robbie, I see you, buddy. Hey, go Bills. Robbie just got done being live too. So let's talk some Buffalo Bills off season real quick if you want to. I got a bunch of stuff for you. I'm not going to be on super long tonight unless you guys keep me around by asking me questions. But the biggest news that we've had so far, Buffalo Bills wise, and I know all of you know this because you have not been living under a rock. And as much as I say that, I know beyond a shadow of a doubt, there are a lot of you that have disconnected from Buffalo Bills and kind of taken a break. And the reality is it's time to get back into it. This is the great question. Tony, I'm trying to chase your comment. Tony asks, when is free agency this year? So free agency, the official tampering season, which basically the collusion period where agents can talk to players, begins next Monday. So my show next week on Sunday night will be the preview for the tampering period, which I believe is 2 weeks before free agency officially starts. But with that, the Bills have already started making moves. One of those moves that the Bills have made is they have re-signed Micah Hyde. Now, the details, if you do not have the details of this contract, this is a fantastic move for the Buffalo Bills. Micah Hyde is now signed with Buffalo through the 2023 season, which basically means that the Bills now have Jordan Poyer, Micah Hyde, and Trey White. Poyer's contract is up next year, 2022. So we've got the three of them together from this year, 21 and 22. And then obviously Hyde will be here through 23. It remains to be seen what's going to happen with Jordan Poyer after his contract expires. And then if I'm not mistaken, Trey is here until 2025. It's hard to believe we're using numbers like 2025. But the numbers, for those of you that are interested or wondering what those numbers are, the numbers are Micah Hyde resigns for 2 more years through the 2023 season for an additional $19.2 million. The total contract is $24 million. That includes 2021, the money that he was going to get in 2021. The signing bonus, $7.5 million. He's going to average on the low end $9.635 million. His max average is 10.75. I think this is a fantastic move. For me, there's only so much you can do without a rock solid safety behind you. And the luxury that the Buffalo Bills have is we have two. And I think that if we had a conversation right now, if we were going to have a conversation about who is the most important person to secure, to retain, to keep in the fold, myself, Bruce Nolan, and some others would tell you Darrell Williams first. However, most of you are already thinking Matt Milano or somebody like Micah Hyde. The reality is, when you've got Tremaine, when you've got a defensive line, they're going to make moves on this defensive line. If they can get, as I've been calling for, Havoc Reeker, yes, we have missed out on J.J. Watt. There's other guys out there. If we can free up Tremaine Edmonds, get a linebacker to fill Milano's spot, and keep that defensive backfield intact, if we can allow that defensive line to do what it's supposed to do in this scheme, what's going to happen is it frees up that entire defensive backfield. And we've seen it play out. We saw it play out in 18. We saw it play out in 19. In 20, they didn't have as much success, primarily because the pressure just wasn't there. But the reality is I think this is a fantastic move, and I think a lot of you agree too, because Micah Hyde, let's face it, Micah Hyde is a fan favorite, right? Micah Hyde is just one of those guys. Bruce Nolan says Micah Hyde is the main reason the Bills have been able to get away with not having a top-end speed at corner. It's true. Anthony Romeo, I gave you a shout out for the boho jersey on the hoof this week. Dude, I appreciate that. The boho, and I don't know what's going on. I know what it's about. It's about the fact that like the Bills have brought in another former Panther punter guy. I don't think Boho loses his job. I could be wrong, but we'll see. Stephen Campione, so happy we extended Hyde. He's such a great leader and a crucial part of this defense. That's absolutely correct. Jamie Hammond, that's my sister. Micah Hyde is from my area. He puts on a football camp for kids every year. Love to see him investing in kids and getting them excited about sports. The real Chris Yankee, Anthony, I don't think we should hedge our bets on a punter coming off a torn ACL. He's not even fully recovered. He's talking about the Panthers punter. Poyer will be back, Richard Rush says. And you know what? They're playing at a high level. And as long as they're playing at a high level, I just can't see a reason that the Buffalo Bills would not be bringing them back. What's up, my guy, Brian Bowers? What up, boys? Good to see you back on the mic. It's good to be here. The pause is over, and it's good to be here. But this Micah Hyde thing, if I could just digress for a moment, there's certain guys inside your locker room you want to keep. Micah Hyde is one of those guys. The things that we see that we don't necessarily pay attention to when it comes to somebody like Micah Hyde is, Micah Hyde is, for all intents and purposes, effectively, he is the backup like punt returner. Whenever Andre Roberts is hurt, they're putting Micah Hyde back there just to be safe. Like, they're not asking him to run it back. They're asking him to catch it, to secure it, to keep the ball. Whenever there's an onside kick, Micah Hyde is the guy that ends up on the side of the ball that they think the ball is going to go to because he's sure-handed. He is, as Bruce Nolan said, the reason that we're getting away without having a speed corner on the other side, because the ground that he covers and what he does and what he brings to this defense is tremendous. But it is, to me, this was probably, as much as it was a move that we didn't see coming as fans, as the Mafia, it was a critical and crucial move at the right time. Another move that the Buffalo Bills did is they re-signed Andre Smith. Now, there's a lot of us that don't necessarily know who Andre Smith is, and that's fine. Andre Smith is a lunch pail guy. He's a special teamer. He's a linebacker. The Bills basically just threw $3 million at him to keep him in town, which is good. The question we all have, and we don't know right now, and we're going to find out within the next week, is what is going to happen with Matt Milano. And to be honest with you, I did a couple shows while I was on my break. And for me, the fence riding, even for me, the fence riding is because I can make every argument in the world to keep Matt Milano here. And I can make every argument in the world to allow him to walk and find somebody else. And it's one of those things where Matt is one of those guys that everybody likes. There's not a person that doesn't like Matt Milano. But this season, this coming season in 2021, due to what's gone on with COVID and the salary cap, and it still, I think, remains to be seen. I don't think it is yet determined exactly what the salary cap is going to be. We know that it's going to be much lower than anticipated in 2019. He's going to end up becoming a casualty. And the reality is the Buffalo Bills, Brandon Beane has said it. Just to remind everybody, before we all get upset, Brandon Beane has said, he has earned the right to go find his best deal in free agency. And the last time Brandon Beane said that, it was about Shaq Lawson and Jordan Phillips, and they didn't even offer him a contract. Those guys just walked straight out the door. I don't believe in hometown discounts. There's a lot of you that are probably thinking, what about hometown discounts? What about, is there a world where this kid wants to stay here because, he wants to win? Let's be honest for a second. Stop and just think to yourself. Winning is great. And at the end of the day, when these players, Kyle Williams, 10, 12, 15 years down the road, have not seen a Super Bowl, have not seen the playoffs, have not seen winning, that's the moment where it kind of like ticks in. Like, hey, I've never really seen winning. I've never been on a winning football team. At his age, first contract after his rookie deal, that dude is thinking about Tre'Davious White phrases, which is generational money. He's thinking $14 to $18 million a year is what he's thinking. And let's be honest and let's be truthful with ourselves and with our own hearts. If he can get it, the bro needs to go get it. Like, go get your money, dude, because the Buffalo Bills don't have it. So got a couple questions here just comments from Chris Jenke. Hyde's interview was interesting. He mentioned how players are sorry they didn't sign with Buffalo back when he did it to help the culture around that started winning. Yeah, there were some comments just about this, specifically with Hyde this week. He's talking about a couple of years back before the Bills kind of really became. I don't think you're going to see this issue anymore. I don't think players that aren't money hunting aren't necessarily, players that want to win are going to want to come to Buffalo because of the culture, because of Josh Allen, because of the fan base, because of Micah Hyde, guys like that. He's more talking about guys probably a couple of years ago. Andrew Miller, anyone else questioning some of the moves Beane has made? All defensive linemen brought in last year are cut candidates. Haven't addressed number 2 cornerback. We also want a new running back after drafting them 2 years. This is a fun conversation, and I get more into it. So the Overreaction podcast for tomorrow has already been recorded, and it will come out tomorrow. And I have a special guest. You guys hear me talk about the market dominator all the time, John Spazchek. John is actually my special guest tomorrow. We talk Buffalo Bills football, and it's a lot of fun. And one of the things we talk about is running backs, because John feels that the number 2, if it's Christmas morning, the number 2 need on this football team is running back. And I have, I have talked many times about a conversation that I had with John Fina, where I had asked John Fina plainly, what is the problem? Because Devin Singletary in 2019 was good. He wasn't great, but he was very good. And there was an expectation coming into 2020 that he was going to progress, that he was going to be better this year than he was last year. They brought in Moss, and we all heard and all got excited, as Jay Spence did as well, just about the whole I'm going to make guys make business decisions. And when you watch the film, I remember watching the film on this kid in college, and I was like, this guy looks like Marshawn Lynch to me. Like, I very much remember that draft when we drafted Marshawn Lynch and watching videos and watching stuff and seeing what I saw out of Marshawn and being super excited when we drafted him in the first round. And I thought I saw something similar, but it didn't pan out. So when I talked to John Fina, I just basically said, dude, the problem is one of three things. The problem is either we got the wrong running backs, right? The problem secondary could be that we've got the wrong offensive line, that these guys are not athletic. And we've heard people say that. We've heard content creators claim that this is not an overly athletic offensive line, to which the guy that gets picked on the most is Mitch Morse. And what's funny about that is, as many times as I've heard that, Mitch Morse is always the guy downfield 20 yards right behind the running back clearing off piles. So as far as being a hustler, being athletic, being motivated to move and having a high motor, Mitch Morse is that guy. So I don't know where that comes from. And then the third thing I asked John about was, hey, is it the scheme? And John took a couple minutes to answer because he didn't really want to. And he said, you know what, Joe? He goes, it's the scheme. So I don't know. I'm going to be honest with you. I'm not sure that the Buffalo Bills have an RB1 on this football team. I'm not saying for a second that these two guys, two RB2s, we've seen teams with two RB2s be successful in the NFL and have a successful running game. They basically trade punches, right? You got, one is a changeup to the other one. If the Buffalo Bills brass, the coaching staff, is going to force this scheme onto these players, then they're going to have to do something different. They're going to have to go find a guy. So is that a Brandon Beane move? I don't know. Sorry, I don't have a straw. I don't know if that's a Brandon Beane move or if that's a coaching staff move. And the reality is, all that to say this, Chris, and thank you for the question. I'm not so sure that it's a Brandon Beane thing, as much as I think it is that Brian Daboll wants a certain running style. He wants a running game. He doesn't have the players to do it, and he's forcing them to play inside of that running scheme, which then rolls into the conversation that we'd like to have as content creators of they didn't execute. Why didn't they rush for 100 yards? They didn't execute. And then it comes into the whole other conversation of, well, can they? Can they run this type of stuff that the coaches are asking him to run? I don't know if that's true. So Judge is in the house. What's up, Judge? Good to see you, my guy. Judge was on with me last week. If you missed last week's Overreaction podcast, Judge and I had a ton of fun. Go back to Buffalo Rumblings podcast feed and find it. We had a good time talking. We ranked, in our opinions, the top 10 touchdowns by Josh Allen. So I have cooled. Anthony Marino says, I have cooled on the thought of running back at 30. You say that. You say that. But I promise you, and it's true for everybody. Bruce is in the house. Like, I'm telling you, every single person in the chat, if Najee Harris or ETN is there at 30, you are no longer cool with the Bills not going running back at 30. I don't care what any of you say. If one of those two guys is there at 30, all of y'all are like, take him. And then the Bills are going to jump out and take a linebacker. And you're going to be like, what happened? Like a linebacker that's got like a second round grade. And you're like, no, it's going to happen. I promise you. Say it ain't so. Say it ain't so. So, man, this would be a dream, right? What I want to get, so I want to get an Aaron Jones in the fourth round. I don't want to get Aaron Jones. I mean, Aaron Jones is going to cost a pretty penny. I want to go get Aaron Jones in the fourth round. I probably need to start. So this is kind of a test run for next week, because I'm going to record live the Overreaction Sports Podcast, the Overreaction Podcast on YouTube live next week. And it's going to be a challenge because I've never done it with you guys talking at me before. It's going to be fun, but I don't necessarily know how to navigate all of that stuff. It's going to be interesting. So Richard Rush says, is anyone else worried if Moss will be able to stay healthy with his running style? I don't think so. I don't think it's going to be too much of a problem. Yeah, so we'll see what happens. I want to transition in a second to the cut list that everybody wants to talk about with the Buffalo Bills. But before we do that, I got to keep hammering this. I need everybody. I got 17 likes up in this thing, which is good. Whatever platform you're listening to, like it. So go to if you're on Facebook, if you're on Twitter, if you're on YouTube, like it. First of all, thumbs up that thing. Get our metrics up. Like it. And then what I need you to do is, if you're on YouTube, subscribe. We are going to make a push this week. And I'm going to give you some more information. Stick around. Don't go anywhere. Stick around with me. I'm going to give you some more information. I'm going to outlay some information as far as what this YouTube thing is going to look like and this live content is going to look like from Buffalo Rumblings going forward. But I'm going to do it at the end. And what we need to do is we need to get our subscriber base up. And I'd like to see it up over 1,000 by the end of this week. So do me that favor of liking and subscribing. And then you can always find me on Twitter at Joe Miller Wired. So the Buffalo Bills have the opportunity or potential to cut some players, right? And we've talked about it. Everybody's talked about it. I don't necessarily know. Chris Jenke, I liked it twice. I don't know where I land on some of these. Some of these guys, it's funny because it's like I'm kind of an emphatic yes, cut that guy. Others of them, I'm like, man, I got my Homer goggles on. I got my fan goggles on, and I really like John Brown. Like I like him. We're in a situation where we've got 2021 as a season where they are going to have to, the Buffalo Bills are going to have to be creative. Number one. Number two, they're going to have to find talent that can help right away. They're going to have to strike gold in some positions in the draft and free agency, unlike what happened in 2020 with some of the guys they signed. They're going to lose the luxury, in my opinion, of rotating football players on the defensive line at about 45% of the snaps. The good news is Star Lotulelei is coming back. I don't believe there's a world where these guys are going to be allowed to opt out one more year. So Star is coming back. His cap number is such that there's no way they're going to be able to cut him. He's going to play not only this year, he's going to play next year too. But when we get into this list of guys that we could potentially cut, it's a tough list. I'm going to be honest with you. It's a tough list. Andrew Miller says, cut Mario Addison. Called it last year when we signed him. He was too old and won't live out his contract he signed. Should have kept Shaq. Shaq is an interesting choice. I'm never a fan of a guy that shows up in a contract year. That's just me. I'm never a fan of a guy that shows up in a contract year. Mario Addison was, it's tough because I would say he flashed more on film than the other two guys did, Quentin Jefferson and Vernon Butler. But there's X's and O's guys, and I'm clearly not an X's and O's guy. I'm an overreaction guy. I'm a fan. There's X's and O's guys who would tell you that the other two guys played better than Mario Addison. All I can tell you is the defensive line played like crap all year long. We can all pretty much agree with that. So it turns into, are we talking about which piece of crap do we want on our plate, right? So which one of the three, because that's literally where this conversation is going, is about Vernon Butler, Quentin Jefferson, Mario Addison. Which one of the three or two of the three do we want to keep over the others? I'm going to give you some numbers. So the first one is John Brown. If the Bills cut John Brown, they save $7.9 million. And the numbers I'm giving you actually came from Bobby over at Fanatics. He put out a graphic today, and I got that information. So credit to Bobby. What's up, Elliot? Good to see you, my guy. Good to see you in the house. It's like the band's back together. All of us are up in the room. You were not late, dude. You're always on time. And I'm sure that wherever you were jamming, so you're good. So John Brown. John Brown is that guy, right? So John Brown is a Buffalo Bills story. He's a Bills Mafia story. He is the guy. John Brown is the guy that Buffalo Bills fans and the Bills Mafia love. He's the underrated dude that came in, not a lot of fanfare, whatever, and then surprised everybody, runs the whole route tree, fast, sure-handed, fun on the field, isn't a problem, isn't selfish. He's an underdog. John Brown is us. John Brown is John Brown represents who we as Bills Mafia feel we are, right? I mean, admit it. That's, as Buffalonians, as a son of Buffalo, that's what we are. We are the consummate underdog. So John Brown endears to our hearts, right? There's an endearing piece and an endearing quality to John Brown. The Bills could save $7.9 million by cutting John Brown. That's a tough one. And the hard part about it is with the emergence of obviously Gabriel Davis, and we don't know yet what we have in Isaiah Hodgins. It'll be tough to see John Brown live on this roster unless there's a restructuring of sorts and that cap number comes way down and the Bills can, get some of that money back and push some of that money into 2022, 2023 when the cap comes back. So John Brown is the first one, $7.9 million. The next one we're going to talk about the three: Vernon Butler, Quentin Jefferson, Mario Addison. In the chat, it's actually on that side. Sorry, it's been about 2 months since I've done any of these, so I'm like my left and rights are off. In the chat section, do me a favor, whatever platform you're on right now, let me know. I'm going to give you let me say the name first. So don't get ahead of me. I'm going to say the name and I'm going to say the savings, and then I want you, Bills Mafia, to tell me which two of the guys you're cutting. Two of the guys. Vernon Butler, $6.8 million. That's what they're going to save. Quentin Jefferson, $6.5 million is what they save. Mario Addison, $6.1 million. Which two of those guys you cut? Because I don't think there's a world where we're keeping all. We're definitely not keeping all three. I could be wrong. I don't think we're keeping all three. I'm not sure there's a world where we're keeping two at those numbers because the Bills have some work to do. So of those three guys, three numbers: Vernon Butler 6.8, Quentin Jefferson 6.5, Mario Addison 6.1. Which two are you cutting? Tony says all three need to go. Richard Rush: Smoke did great as the number one in 2019. 2020 was a rough year for him. Yeah, he was injured, obviously. Bye Butler. I need one more, Joey. Joey, you got to give me one more. Apex says Butler and Addison. That's so funny to me. I'm as much of a Bills fan as every single one of you. And there's an aspect to Vernon Butler and Quentin Jefferson that you almost, as Bills fans, don't even know what their numbers on their jerseys are because they didn't even flash in the screen. Butler and Jefferson, those are my guys. To me, those are the two guys that are gone. And I know that Mario Addison's older. And the reality is maybe he goes next year, right? Maybe we keep him for one more year and then they kick him to the curb. Bruce Nolan cut Butler. That was, for me, that was the guy. It was like I was on the Pat Moran show, and I was like, I don't even know Vernon Butler's number. Like, what is that? I'm not a bad fan. I know every player on the team's number, but that guy, right? Butler and Addison cut all three. I don't. With Starr coming back, I don't know that you can cut all three. If you're going to roll these guys at 70%, 65, 70%, you could probably cut all three and save $19 million. Tony Mansour, Butler and Addison, Richard, Jefferson and Butler. Just jumped on me. Hang on a second. I hate it when it does that. Sorry, everybody. Catching up. The Intimidator, Butler and Jefferson. Welcome to the show, Ann. Keep Jefferson. He is versatile. I don't disagree. Andy's quick, right? Elliot Eisler cut Butler and Jefferson. Anthony Romeo cutting Butler for sure. Restructure Addison and Jefferson, but I'd keep Addison over Jefferson. LeBaron Van Buren says cut all three. The real Chris Yankee says Butler and Jefferson because Starr is back and Phillips. That's a big one. So Starr is back and Harrison Phillips is going to be healthy. That is so he's coming back from 2 ACLs, and there was a lot of patience lost with Harrison Phillips in the beginning, the first half, the 10 games of 2020, and there was one ACL is a year long to recoup, and even after a year, a lot of these guys aren't at 100%. If I'm not mistaken, he had 2 ACLs that he was coming back from. So yes, a healthy Harrison Phillips is going to be big with Starr coming back. That's huge. Addison and Butt. Cut Jefferson and Butler. It doesn't. All right, this is legit water. If I drank that much vodka, I'd be dead. And I'm not really a vodka guy. I'm a silver tequila guy. And if I drink that much silver tequila, I'd be dead too. This is absolutely 100% water. Especially in the gulps that I'm taking. And I'm not doing this afterwards. So, yeah, that's funny. Larry, thank you for the comment. That's funny. Stephen Campione, Butler. MVP Steve, keeping Jefferson, so cutting Butler and Addison. It's funny because we're all over the board. And I think what's funny about that is the simple fact that, like, we're not even sure. As Bills Mafia, How many times have we been in a situation where there's three players that play a similar position, offensive line, defensive backfield, whatever, and we have a choice between them, and all of us are all over the place? Like, none of us are all like, it's this guy and only this guy. Like, right now, every single one of us, for the most part, unless you have something against him, every single one of us in this chat would say that Jerry Hughes, last year specifically, 2020, and even a little bit in 2019, has grown into a veteran leader. And he is a guy that I want restructured, re-signed, and kept on this roster as a veteran leader. He's a high motor guy. He's still getting some pressure on the quarterback, but what he brings to the defense, we can all agree that Jerry Butler is maturing and as a vet player. We would all be like, yeah, absolutely, Jerry's great. Imagine if I've never seen this before, where like there's three players, we can keep one, and all of us have a different opinion. What does that mean? Like, I think that is this number, by the way. Yeah. Tony Mansour says it's 94. You looked it up. Don't even tell me you didn't look up his number, because I was like, I don't know what number. And then when Pat said his number was 94, I was like, wait a minute, it's 94? Yeah. So Andrew Miller says Jefferson has the defensive tackle, defensive end flexibility, so I wouldn't mind keeping him. Right? Elliot. Oh my gosh, you guys are hysterical. Nice glass of moonshine. Everybody's on the moonshine. That's so funny. Off topic. Sorry, Joe, but Fitzpatrick is did that just come out? Did that happen online while I was online, or while we're doing this thing? I don't know. That's crazy. That sucks if Fitzy's retiring. Fitz magic. Quintessential Buffalo Bill. The underdog mentality as a Buffalo Bill, right? And we still love Fitzy. I love Fitzy. We all love Fitzy. Richard Rush, Joe, they took something out of Phillips Goodney to fix the injured one. He will be the number one tech over star. We'll see. I mean, I don't doubt it. We'll see. Stronger and faster. Yep. Yes, keep Hughes and Brown. Does what I'm saying make sense, though, about those three guys? The fact that, like, even we're undecided on which ones we want to keep, or which one we would keep. I mean, I think I saw keep more Mario Addisons than anybody else, but I think that's because he flashed more. And I think he got the majority of the snaps. The last potential cap casualty, sorry. This is the moment you need a co-host and a straw. The last potential cap casualty is Mitch Morrison, $4.8 million. It's an interesting theory, and actually Judge Mathis was the first person I ever heard say it about cutting Mitch, moving Feliciano to center. I don't think the Bills are better with Feliciano at center than Mitch Morris. I think the Bills are better with Feliciano on the field. Does that make sense? So the Bills are not better with Feliciano at center over Mitch Morris, but the Buffalo Bills are better when Feliciano's on the field. Obviously, there's a conversation out there about Richie Incognito coming back for a third time. I'm all for it. That dude's a grinder, and he just trucks people. Like, bring me Richie Incognito. The interesting part about that is if you bring in Richie Incognito, what happens to Cody Ford? Is Darrell Williams gone? And I'm not necessarily sure that I want to trade a 40-year-old, I don't know how old he is, a 50-year-old Richie Incognito with former head issues over Darrell Williams, who, in my opinion, you guys have heard me say, is without a doubt the hands-down unsung hero of that offensive line in 2020. Anthony Marino says, would prefer to see Bills restructure and extend John Brown's contract. I agree, Anthony. The problem is at what point are we getting a little crowded in that wide receiver room? So who's gone? Is Isaiah McKenzie going? Is he rolling down the road this year? I mean, obviously Duke Williams is a guy that can go. It'll be also interesting. I don't think they've said what they're going to do with the practice squad stuff. I think there's a lot of fans, or a lot of people, a lot of teams, a lot of organizations were fans of the way that they handled the IR situation with the 3-week IR. I'd love to see that stay. That's something none of us have talked about. Incognito pass. Head issues is an understatement. I want to see him stay. I absolutely want to see him stay. And thank you for being a part of the show, Ann. Don't say a bunch of money cutting Morse, plus they need to replace another O-lineman. Well, that's the thought. So the thought is that if they cut Mitch Morse and move Feliciano to center, what that does is it opens up a spot for Ford to play Feliciano's tackle or guard position. So you'd re-sign Darrell Williams, Cody Ford at right tackle, Feliciano at center, Ike Butker at left guard, and then obviously the Snowman at left tackle is what the thought is there. So you would not necessarily have to replace an offensive lineman. I think the wild card in this whole situation is Cody Ford and how much football politics is going to play into that. How mad are you going to be, Bills Mafia? Because I haven't seen enough out of Cody Ford to believe that the kid can play guard at a high level, let alone play right tackle. How are you going to feel, Bills Mafia, if the Bills allow Darrell Williams, who handled TJ Watt like a champ, they let him walk and gift the right tackle position to Cody Ford? Because we've heard Brandon Beane and Sean McDermott say many times, the best players will play. The best players will play. The best players will play. Oh, really? Then why did Quentin Spain get walked out the door and Brian Winters start over him for 3 or 4 games until it was obvious that Brian Winters was not working? So what do you do, Bills Mafia, if the Bills allow Darrell Williams to walk out the door and they gift that right tackle position to Cody Ford, and let's just say he fails? He doesn't play well. You might want to start thinking about it. That's all I'm going to say. You might want to start thinking about it. Right? Can we take a moment to appreciate the snowman? He is a Buffalo Bill. He is a Buffalo Bill through and through. He is one of us at that point. Andrew Miller, I'm with you, dude. Like, livid if it happens. Livid. Why would you take one of your best offensive linemen, not re-sign him, and then gift that position to a guy that has struggled, frankly? I'm with you, Owen. Right there with you. Yeah, but I guess so. What you're saying, Tony, I just think the offensive tackle position is so deep in the draft this year. You're talking about giving that position, giving that spot to potentially Cody Ford. Drafting offensive tackle at this point, 30, or I don't know if it'd be 62, wherever that is, or wherever that falls, 61, 62, 63, and letting that kid develop. But it doesn't really solve the problem of Cody Ford. Man. Intimidator says Ford better not be allowed to start at right tackle, period. Draft an offensive tackle at number 30. What is it? What is it about? You know what? Somebody, I don't remember. Was it Andrew Miller? Was it Andrew that said that he was upset about, or was it Chris Jenke, about the way that Brandon Beane, some of the moves he's made in regards to running back? The only problem that I have with Brandon Beane, 2 things. It's actually 2 problems. I have 2 problems with Brandon Beane. The first problem is this. The first problem with Brandon Beane is I'm over the Carolina Panthers train to Buffalo. I don't need to have every former Carolina Panther in for a workout. And I know that other people, other content creators have debunked that and been like, it's not that big of a deal, familiarity, yada, yada. I just don't need it. It's just not something. What? They cut the custodian. Get him in here for a visit. We got to have the custodian come in because that dude can sweep like nobody can. And I hired him 5 years ago. Like, I just don't need it. Like, for me, the other thing is garbage offensive linemen from the Jets. I don't need any more garbage offensive linemen for the Jets. The Jets can either keep their garbage offensive linemen, and when they cut them, I don't need to see them in a Bills uniform ever again. or ever at all. I don't need to see them. Do not cut Morris, Eric McNeil says. No freaking way. Makes the team worse. I agree. Definitely makes the team worse. Tony's got it out there. Dawkins, Butker, Morse, Ford, and a rookie. I'm not opposed to it. So you're letting Feliciano walk. You're letting Darrell Williams walk. You're letting, obviously, I'm guessing. I'd like to know in this plan, is Milano still here? Because I think what we've all said, what we've all kind of felt was like it's one or the other between Williams. Well, I guess that's 2 of the 3, Williams, Feliciano, and Milano. But you're talking, there's probably no way you're keeping Milano and any of those the other 2 guys. But you can probably keep the other 2, and if you let Milano walk. Chris Jenke, do you think Ike Butker should be starting moving forward? What's your opinion of his level of play? I wasn't opposed to it. I would say this: the amount of all-out line collapsing that I saw when Brian Winters was playing football with Cody Ford, and what I mean by that is where, like, the defensive end or somebody would like kind of press in on the offensive tackle and literally just collapse the line sideways. Like all of them would just fall into each other like a bunch of dominoes. I did not see that happen anymore once Ike Butker got on the field. I could be wrong, but I did not see it much. For me, is he a Pro Bowl player? Probably not. Is he a guy that can hide between two good players in Dawkins and Mitch Morris where Brian Winters couldn't? Yes. Brian Winters was largely the reason that offensive line was getting collapsed as often as it was. And Ike Butker was able to hold his ground. So I'm not opposed to keeping Ike. I thought he played okay. Elliot Eisler says Jets players are ruined when they go to the dumpster fire of a franchise. Oh, the Jets. What a joke. What a joke. So we got a bunch of people in here, and it looks like I'm going to refresh this page. If I still have 479 subscribers on YouTube, I'm going to be upset. 491. Good job. Good job, Mafia. I've got about 34 of you in here from YouTube. If you're still on YouTube, jump out and hit the subscribe button. So I want to transition real quick. I'm going to be on with you guys for about another 20 minutes. If you've got questions, I'm obviously freewheeling with the questions. Next week might look a little bit different. Come on, can we stop with this? Can you guys, LeBaron, I appreciate you being in the house, and I appreciate the comment. I appreciate you like contributing, but can we stop? Andre Roberts is a Pro Bowler. What's up, Pullout King? I am back, and you are back too, my friend. Brian Winters is literally a human turnaround. It was awful. I agree with this, Rich. If no Milano, then re-sign both Mongo and Williams. You got to keep that offensive line intact. You've got to. We're talking about a quarterback that is super mobile. We're talking about a quarterback that excels in playground backyard football. But we're also talking about a quarterback that we're wanting to develop into a straight up legit pocket passer. You've got to keep him protected. Ike Butker played 623 snaps and earned a PFF grade of 65. I guess it depends where you fall on PFF grades, right? I mean, I'm not going to argue against PFF grades or for PFF grades. To me, I don't know that any Buffalo Bill really, or many Buffalo Bills, graded out well on PFF. So sometimes what they look at and what we potentially look at is a little bit different. I want to transition. So we're going to move off of that real quick. How many of you saw the proposal that the Buffalo Bills made to the league? And I loved it, frankly. I absolutely loved it. And I'm going to back up and I'm going to tell you a story. Not tell you a story. I'm going to talk you through the process first. So settle in if you've got a cup of coffee or if you've got water or you've got moonshine or silver tequila or vodka and you're sipping it. Just listen to my voice for a moment. The Buffalo Bills played a football game against the Kansas City Chiefs in the AFC Championship game. And for me, the narrative that turned was interesting because we came off of the Ravens game talking about coaching and talking about how amazing Leslie Frazier did and how amazing Brian Daboll had been all year long. Several coaching positions had opened up in the NFL. And our guys, Brian Daboll his name was being tossed around. There was only a couple interviews. There wasn't a lot of hot and heavy stuff, but Frazier was, as we were told, in the final running for a head coach, as a head coaching candidate. The Bills play the Chiefs in the AFC Championship game and get their complete blocks knocked off. It wasn't even a contest. The Chiefs didn't even get our second best game. They didn't get our third best game. It was not good. We all walked out of that football game talking about the biggest issue was not necessarily the players, but more about the players not being prepared by the coaches. Nobody could get open. Nobody could cover. The soft zone was a bad idea. Blah, 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 blah. Even inside of that week, there was a lot of, and even in the week before a little bit, there was a lot of interviewing going on for your two executives, your offensive executive and your defensive executive. Coaching. Got outcoached, horribly outcoached. Nobody wanted anybody fired. It wasn't a situation of like, hey, we got to fire somebody. It wasn't that. It was just like we didn't play our best game and we didn't coach well, and it is what it is. And then the Super Bowl happens. Y'all, a bunch of hypocrites, turned on him. Word gets out that the Chiefs played a soft zone, almost exactly like what Leslie Frazier tried to do. And all of a sudden, Leslie Frazier was back to being a god. It was like he had the right game plan. It was true. The players suck. It went from being a coaching issue to being the players suck in like 60 minutes of football. Not to mention the fact that the Buffalo Bills don't have the players on defense, Shaq Barrett and some of these guys, that the Buccaneers had. Who, by the way, if we're going to give credit, Pat Moran called that before the season started. Pat Moran said, watch out for the Bucs, not because of Tom Brady. Watch out for the Bucs because that defense is really good and nobody knows it. But all of a sudden, the problem is no longer the coaches. The problem is now, stick with me, I'm going somewhere. It's no longer the coaches. The problem is now the players. And then a month and a half later, the Buffalo Bills ownership presents a proposal to the NFL competition committee, whatever, for their owners' meetings. They no longer want to allow head coaches and top office staff, front office management staff, to interview prior to the AFC Championship game. If that isn't a sign to you of what actually happened in that football game, I don't know what to tell you. That is literally the Buffalo Bills ownership and probably Bean and probably McDermott having a conversation postseason saying, yeah, our coordinators were a little bit absent that week, distracted, maybe not on their game. You're talking about guys that go for, at that point in time, 20 weeks, right? They play a football game on Sunday. They don't take a break. They don't get Mondays off like the team does. They don't get Tuesdays off, whatever the day off is. They're watching film on Monday. Everybody's watching film, so they're with the guys watching film on Mondays. On Tuesdays, while the players are off, they're now developing the game plan, right? Wednesday, practice. Thursday, practice. Friday, practice. Saturday, travel day, or it's somewhat of a walkthrough off day, game on Sunday. Now, all of a sudden, you throw job interviews for head coaching like vacancies in there. And one of them was a finalist, Leslie Frazier, for the Houston Texans. And thank God he didn't get that job for his own sake. Thank God he did not get that job for his own sake. And then what happens? The Buffalo Bills are like, yo, this is what's up. We don't want our guys interviewing before the championship game because they get distracted. I don't know, man. It was worth seeing Casey get blown out. I'm not gonna lie. David Scruggs, if you're Brandon Bean, stack and rank your priorities. Oh, you're back on. You're still on the. We'll get to that in a second. Casey's DBs are soft. Well, they played sticky coverage against us, right? They were getting held. They're getting ridden all the way down the field. It was akin to the Ravens game where Marlon Humphrey literally rode his. I think it was John Brown. He rode him straight down the field with his hand in the back of his shoulder pads all the way down the field, and didn't get a flag for it. Legit definition of illegal contact. Crazy. Don't forget Brian Dable and Ken Dorsey were being interviewed as well. No, I said Dable. For sure. It's Tuesday because Tuesday's payday. So yeah. So it'll be interesting to see what comes of that. It'll be interesting to see. I don't understand the whole getting a head start. I don't understand the whole concept of getting, like, if you fire your head coach the Monday after the last game of the season, I don't understand the concept of getting a head start on everybody else. Like, there's nothing going on. And I said this in my podcast that's going to come out tomorrow on the Buffalo Rumblings network. Like, you hire a head coach week 1 of the playoffs or week 2 of the playoffs. He's then got to assemble a staff. Your whole entire team has vanished. They've gone like to the Caribbean. They're in the Sea of Cortez. Like they're in Micronesia and like Bali. Like they're off like spending the money that you paid them. And then like, so you've got to assemble this staff, and then you've got like whatever's going on for like, and then you've got to like find them to connect with them. Like, I don't know that there's a true benefit to getting your head coach 3 weeks before somebody else does. I just don't know. It might be more of an even play for a league that appreciates and lives in parity. It might be a better, it might be a better world if it's a level playing field, and it's okay, on Monday, the day after the Super Bowl, it's go. Everybody gets to look for their head coach, and everybody starts to lobby, and everybody starts to make phone calls, and interviews are then set up, and the league and the pressure's off. I don't know. I could be wrong. So, any thoughts on that? I see you guys talking, which is awesome. I love the chat. So I think I'll be honest with you guys, as much as we don't have huge numbers tonight, I've missed you guys chatting more than I've missed anything. Like, being back is cool and all, but just knowing that like y'all are in the chat together and chatting it up and having conversation and interacting with each other. Cause as you all know, I love to be in other people's chats. So I'll jump on with the Hoof guys. I'll jump on the Air Raid Hour with Judge and Tilt. I'll jump on with Rico. I'll jump on with everybody. Like, I love being in the chat with y'all. Chris says, ironically, Joe, it was the other team's rush to hire someone that helped us keep Dable and Frazier. Same reason Bieniemy didn't get a shot. It's true. I'm not. But what do you want? Do you want to win that AFC Championship game, or do you want to keep Brian Dable and lose the AFC Championship game, or keep Leslie Frazier? And that's what has to kind of be reconciled. And I don't know what the answer is. I don't have it. I'm not sitting here telling you guys I have it. I'm just telling you as a fan, right? Bruce Nolan says it would also create a coach free agency, which would be a marketable event. It'd be a blast. It'd be give us something to talk about, wouldn't it? Anthony Mayo, this is a VIP room right now. It's true. And you are in it, my friend. You are in it. So it's obviously not fair, says Mr. Wick. It's a no-brainer. Change the rule. I agree. It probably should have been changed a long time ago. Tony Mansour says, give us your thoughts on which possible free agents we might sign. Oh my gosh, dude. My big want, even at the trade deadline, was JJ Watt. And to be honest with you, I am on record as saying I want a havoc wreaker. I want a havoc wreaker on the defensive line. Well, what is a havoc wreaker, Joe? A havoc wreaker is a guy that is an offensive staff and coach, an offensive coordinator and coaching staff and quarterback are going to have to worry about. I don't need a generational talent. I don't need Joey Bosa. But there is nobody on our defensive line that anybody really pays attention to or cares about. They're not like, we got to stop that guy or else. That's what I want. Go find me that guy. I want a JJ Watt. And as much as there's people in the chat, even still, that like we're not really on the JJ Watt bandwagon, that's fine. But if you bring me JJ Watt at 32 years old, who played 90% of the snaps last year with the Houston Texans, you drop him to 65, right? And Starr's coming back. If the Star now has to play 60% and JJ plays 60% or 65%, and they're both being double covered when they're on the field together, Jerry Hughes is coming free. AJ FNS is coming free. Somebody's coming free from somewhere. Ed Oliver's coming free. For me, they've got to do something on the defensive line. I don't know if that guy's out there. That's the other thing too. It's going to be as much as that's a great question. Who are my free agent targets? I very much believe it's going to be a bloodbath in the next couple weeks with cuts, just as far as like guys that are getting cut across the NFL. There are so many teams close to the cap or over the cap that like it's about to be a bloodbath. The amount of guys that come free, and it's going to be interesting to see what happens to the market, because guys are going to be getting cut because nobody has the money, right? So it's not like pick a dude, and I'm making this up. So, TJ Watt, and I'm not saying he's going to get cut, but it's not like TJ Watt or Joey Bosa. We'll just throw a name out there. Joey Bosa is going to get cut because he's a cap casualty because the Chargers can't keep him, and somebody else is going to give him $25 million a year. This year, more than any other year, there's not really anybody that has the ability to give Joey. There's going to be no competition for him. Like, it's going to be interesting to see what happens I'm going to reserve my judgment till the tampering period really kind of opens and to kind of see who's out there, because it's going to be interesting. I wouldn't mind. Von Miller is a more active, more gets home more often version of Jerry Hughes. For some reason, Von Miller also gets calls, which Jerry Hughes does not. Jerry Hughes is held on every single play. Jerry Hughes is held on every single play. Never gets a call. It's insane. Carl Lawson's another one for sure. I think AJ would have been a havoc wreaker if he hadn't lost too much weight. We'll see. He's going to have an opportunity to put it back out. I promise you that like the goal for the training and conditioning staff this year is to get some weight on that boy's frame, because he looks like Aaron Maben. He looks like an effective Aaron Maben, right? Dude, I don't know what's up with Clowney. Like, it's kind of like the Yannick Ngakoue situation. Yannick goes to the Vikings and then they trade him. Like, you went and got this kid and then you move him. Clowney, Jadeveon Clowney is another one for me that's like, I'm not really sure what to make of this. So, yeah, it's a little strange. Take a shot of moonshine every time Joe says Star's coming back. Star's coming back. This is what I got for you. We're going to wrap this thing up. So normally I'm on for 90 minutes. We're going to be on for just 60 tonight, because this isn't even an official show. This is literally me just jumping on. This is like preseason. This is preseason for the Overreaction podcast. I got some bugs to work out. I got some latency in my camera because I got some new equipment. I got it. I don't even think it's showing up on YouTube. Like, I think it's still blurry. It doesn't look great. So I got some stuff to do. I got a new iMac coming, so a newer one. This one, the one that I'm on, is a 2012 i5. I just bought a 2019 i9, so hopefully that'll make my computer happy, because it's getting less and less happy every single week that passes. You can't have a computer that's 9 years old and expect it to be like, I mean, it's a monster. Don't get me wrong. It's served me well, but it's past its time. But I want to do this. I want to talk about what's coming up on YouTube for Buffalo Rumblings and for this show. So if we got like 48 people up in here, if you have not liked and subscribed yet on YouTube, please like and subscribe. If you are on Facebook, if you are on Twitter, please like on Facebook and Twitter this episode. Please do me that favor. It gets our metrics up. This is what's coming up. So get your pens out, take some notes. So every single Sunday night from here on out, the Overreaction Sports Podcast with me, Joe Miller, is going to be recorded live right here on YouTube. Now, here's the thing. I'm not entirely sure how that's going to work, because I'm going to have guests on from now until the season starts. Next week, I've got Pat Moran. Pat Moran booked, going to be on the show, the Talking Buffalo podcast guy that everybody loves. Pat's one of my favorite dudes. I love being on with Pat. Pat is awesome. He's going to be my first guest on the live show. I'm not going to be able to take questions. Like we're going to have a conversation, and you guys are going to be watching the conversation, and I'll take questions as I can, but it's not going to be super, super easy. Week 2. So in 2 weeks, I'm going to have Sterling on from Cover One from the Hoof Podcast. Sterling's going to be on the show with me, which Anthony Romeo is actually in the chat, who is one of the co-hosts of the Hoof Pod. So that's going to happen every Sunday night, 9:00, right here on YouTube on the Buffalo Rumblings network. You are going to see this show aired live, and then it's going to drop on Mondays as a podcast. So literally, you're going to hear me say, if you listen to my podcast, you're going to hear me say live every Sunday night, whether this podcast finds you around a cup of coffee, on the way to work, or at the gym with your AirPods in. I just want to say welcome. You're going to hear it every week, because we're going to record it live right here. Monday nights, the Code of Conduct with Jay Spence is going to be recorded live right here. So Jay Spence is going to a live recorded podcast as well. So me on Sunday, Jay Spence on Monday. You got to subscribe. So if you have not subscribed, jump in and subscribe on this thing right now. Wednesdays is the return of the Hump Day Hotline. So the return of the Hump Day Hotline with the original lineup, myself and Jay Spence, is returning next week. Wednesday is going to be the very first return of the Hump Day Hotline with me and Jay Spence. So you want to make sure that you're ready for that. That's going to be sweet. I can't wait to be back with my guy, with my bestie, Jay Spence. The Off Tackle with John Fina show is also going to be aired live on the Buffalo Rumblings YouTube channel. So that's going to be coming back. John and I we talked on Friday. We're going to get together and start talking about free agency. So possibly next Friday, we're going to do a show, and we're going to talk about just free agency and kind of what's going on in the tampering period. We're going to do a free agency show. We'll probably do a couple mini camp shows, and then obviously we will be going forward having shows during the regular season as well. There's also a lot of other new content coming from Buffalo Rumblings. What I'm trying to tell you is Rumblings, who has not really been in this space before, Jay Spence did an amazing job with the chop up with Mookie, him and Mookie through the season, post games. They did a great job this past season, ever since Spence ended up on Rumblings. But literally, Rumblings is about to jump. They're about to cannonball into the creative content space for the Buffalo Bills on YouTube. So you need to like and subscribe. You need to tell all of your friends. You need to let people know, because I know there's a lot of people out there that can't find me. They don't know where my podcast went. They don't know how to get to me. There's a lot of people that asked me today, are you going to be on Fanatics Network? And I was like, no, I'm going to be on Rumblings. I've been talking about it for like 2 weeks, like Rumblings. This week, in preparation for next week, Jay Spence and I, Matt, and several of us are going to be kind of doing some just quick stuff. We're going to be jumping on here just to kind of get this thing tuned up, kick the tires a little bit. Like I said, kind of drive that rental car. But I'm excited. I'm excited to be here. Tony, we can make that happen, bro. We can get you. I did a show the last Hump Day Hotline. I had a whole bunch of y'all on. You can ask Brian. Brian was on the show. Who else was on the show? Richard Rush was on the show. There you go. Richard Rush was on the show. Like, everybody was on the show. So we can absolutely make that happen. But I appreciate you guys tuning in tonight. So for Buffalo Rumblings and everybody over on that side, my name is Joe Miller. I am the host of the Overreaction podcast. This is the first test drive of the Overreaction podcast on the Buffalo Rumblings multicast network, I guess. It's good to have you guys. Do me a favor. If you have not yet followed me on Twitter, you can find me and follow me at Joe Miller Wired. With this guarantee, I give it to everybody. If you follow me, I will not unfollow you unless you tweet porn. So follow me on Twitter. I'll follow you back. We'll interact. We'll have a lot of fun. And as long as you don't tweet porn, we're good. So you can have your political beliefs. You can have whatever, you can talk about whatever you want to talk about. Just don't tweet porn. We're good. So find me on Twitter. Be ready for tomorrow. So coming up tomorrow is Jay Spence. Jay Spence is going to be recording the Code of Conduct podcast tomorrow, if I'm not mistaken. Or maybe that's next week. I think he's going to be on tomorrow, but it might not be Code of Conduct officially, if that makes any sense. So, but yeah, appreciate you guys tuning in as always. I love you guys. I just love just being a part of this whole thing. It was awesome. It was a great time. And Joe, I'm a free agent, willing to send him. I'm right there with you. So yeah, but you guys are awesome as always. I appreciate y'all, and we'll catch you later this week. Make sure you like and subscribe. Joe Miller, Overreaction Podcast, Buffalo Rumblings. I'm out. Go Bills.